This is the face of human suffering in Iraq. Refugees forced to run from Islamic State in Anbar province. A dusty camp just kilometres from the front line. This is now an uncertain home to families for whom survival itself is a daily struggle.
You asked me about the services. Well, we live in a tent. Look, it's a tent. There's no electricity and no running water. What can I say? I'm thankful, but we need real help.
The cities of Anbar have been overrun by Islamic State. Hundreds of thousands of people, Sunnis and Shiites, have fled from the major centres of Ramadi and Fallujah. Many escaped to Baghdad, but many others are seeking shelter in camps on the borders of the province.
I can't get medication, it's too hot. There's no electricity and medicine is very expensive. We hope things will change.
Our situation is known to the entire world. Everybody knows this calamity. Have you ever tried being displaced, living in a tent? It's too hot and there's no electricity, no breakfast and no dinner.
The town of Amriya Fallujah is now home to 40,000 families who fled Islamic State when they took the neighbouring city of Fallujah. In his office, the local mayor tells 7:30 he's desperate for more resources from anywhere.
We call on the Australian government to provide aid and assistance to the families displaced in Amriya Fallujah. This is the only safe haven in Anbar province.
Shaka Mohammed El Isawi has heavy protection. Time and again, his office has been attacked by Islamic State suicide bombers, including just a few weeks ago. These are the signs of the attack, he says. 2 of our bodyguards were killed. Many here fear that it's only a matter of time before Islamic State fighters take the town. And the mayor, for one, thinks coalition airstrikes are not hitting enough targets.
Today we call on the coalition forces to launch debilitating attacks against Islamic State. They are lurking in the outskirts of Amriya Fallujah. They have established training camps. These camps set car bombs, recruit suicide attackers, and everyone knows where they are.
It's almost 1 year since the coalition action against Islamic State was launched in Iraq and Syria. Progress is slow. There are some gains and some losses for Islamic State. In Syria, the group was forced out of Kobani after months of fighting. It also lost ground in the border town of Tel Abyad, cutting a key supply route between Turkey and the IS stronghold of Raqqa. But in Iraq, Islamic State delivered a major blow to the coalition effort in May this year, when it seized Ramadi, a city of 200,000 people. Despite that massive loss in which the weak Iraqi army capitulated, the country's ambassador in Australia maintains a rosy outlook.
The results that we've seen recently, like at least in the last couple of months, there's so much triumph there. There's recapturing so many towns and cities, whether on the western part of Iraq or the northern of Baghdad, which is close to the Mosul city.
To be honest, it doesn't look like that from here.
Well, probably it's not a complete, it's hard. But when you talk to the military chiefs about recapturing Ramadi, they think it's going to be easier than Mosul because it's a flat, it's a desert. And now they are really surrounding Ramadi.
Overnight, the Iraqi military announced the start of a major offensive to retake Anbar province, with the crucial support of some local tribes. They'll first target the city of Fallujah, using some of the troops trained by the coalition.
In recent days, our coalition has actually significantly stepped up the pace of military airstrikes in Iraq. the majority of those airstrikes coming in Anbar.
In the years since the international coalition began airstrikes, the US says Islamic State's territory in populated areas of Iraq has shrunk by 25 to 30%. In Syria, it's virtually unchanged. The coalition has conducted more than 5,000 airstrikes. Australian FA-18s have flown more than 600 missions and carried out more than 400 attacks on Islamic State targets. Australian military advisors have begun training a new brigade of Iraqi troops after the recent graduation of 750 soldiers. And Australian Special Forces are training about 280 soldiers from the Iraqi Counter-Terrorism Service.
The training effort is not really something you can do a condensed course in a week or a month and then you let the people go and do the work. This is a military training we're talking about, so it takes longer.
Welcome to witnesses, Secretary Carter.
Too long for some in Washington who believe a year of military action has yielded little.
We are not winning, and when you're not winning in war, you are losing.
Last week, senators confronted the US Defense Secretary with their demand for troops on the ground in Iraq, at the very least to call in more accurate airstrikes.
Any pilot will tell you that they're only as good as the targets they receive, and when 3/4 of our air missions against ISIL still return to base without dropping weapons, that is indicative of a fundamental problem with our air campaign.
In Umria Fallujah, Mayor El Asawi couldn't agree more. This war won't be won without more foreign troops.
Iraqi forces lack training and equipment. I call on the coalition to send land forces to get on the ground and liberate these areas.
That move is unlikely. The risk of an entrenched war in the Middle East, creating new enemies and cementing old ones, is a step America and its allies appear unwilling to take.